I don't know, let's say within the past half hour, as I'm gearing up to shake off the lazy 2 days off I've had, I decided to do some YouTube cruising. And on the first note, I absolutely adore, as I kind of previously mentioned in a earlier live, where Snow White has been out for 2 weeks, and it is one of the biggest Disney flops ever. It cost $370 million for Disney to put out that trash. And I've seen all of the people that have collectively taken pictures of how empty these theaters are. Even the person that has burned all the bridges that plays Snow White, she just went on Instagram, bought tickets for her friends. What's up, Twisted? You might appreciate this after I get done with the Snow White rant. I just want to say this, where I hope Disney is starting to get the message and hear it loud and clear. When you take something that's a classic and you try to modernize it, you're forgetting the whole reason and escaping from what made it a classic, why people loved it as it was back in 1937. And if you look at the numbers then, even without adjusting for inflation, and look at how much it's made in 2 weeks compared to a simple action movie that was in thousands of theaters less than Snow White has been, Disney has to understand now. They have to see the writing on the wall. We like the classics for what they are, what they were, and the escapism. We're tired of being told how to think the modern fairy tale. Like, they wanted to put in a more modern spin and a feminist take on Snow White. We wanted a Snow White that's like, I don't need no man. That's just not what the classic of Snow White was about. It was about true love, which is universal, not political. And that stupid Renee, what's her name? I was gonna say Zellweger. I forget the actress's name, the one that plays Snow White. She was too busy going on and on about how she's using her hashtag Snow White, which the son of the father that owns a big portion of Disney had to fly all the way out from his comfortable mansion just to go to New York and yell at her and say, stop making very controversial leftist, communist political posts and associating the film that you signed a contract to promote. You're ruining it and you're ruining everything. So a pox on that woman and a pox on Disney. And now that brings me to another bomb artist right now. Listen, I know this channel has me. I will always be grateful for the insane attention I had after Ryan Upchurch mentioned my name. I've said that time and time again ad nauseum. However, I gotta ask. I just have to ask honestly. All right, I saw Adam Calhoun's recent just the track he made, Insane, right? That was a country rap, like country gangster rap song right there. I'm kind of impressed. I'm not somebody that really ever appreciated the country rap genre. There was a few songs where people were putting me on when I came out, using this channel as a platform, and was so welcome to the Creek Squad. And then when I stepped out of turn and said something about the man who kind of treats his audience like a cult, I was ostracized. But look, what has Ryan Upchurch become? What is he using his channel for now? Has he not become exactly what he used to roast everybody for? So Adam Calhoun is making great collaborations and music. I prefer, my old school rap. I'm a Yankee Doodle. I'm from New York. I like my Tupac, my Biggie, my 90s, my 2000s hip hop, Bone Thugs and Harmony, this and that. But I do absolutely have a respect for country rap. The first being Bubba Sparks, was it? I forget the song. What was, come on. If I just stop thinking so fast and I can just remember the song. There was a kid named Tommy that used to make fat stacks out in the corner with drugs. Used to hang out late. I forget who sung that, but that was one of my first introductions to to country rap, and I loved that song. I loved it, and I repeated it as much as possible. And then Fast forward, and I'm introduced to this other world here, the Creek Squad world, Ryan Upchurch's music, and I just didn't have the heart to tell everybody, like, yeah, I found like two songs that I really thought were kind of bangers here, but I'm not talking about the Ryan Upchurch that made music that people were vibing to back then. I hear he's been great at concerts. He's brought people up on stage, but he's got, like, his crew that just hang on his coattails and will not let go. So Adam Calhoun just appears to be living completely rent free in Ryan Upchurch's brain. And all Ryan Upchurch is doing is making videos all by himself. I mean, at least I'm going to work after my rant, but Mr. Upchurch, with all his music and all his money, and he really likes to talk about how famous he is. I mean, at this point, I'm just going to call him a content creator, YouTuber with 3 million followers that hasn't gone up in the 4 to 5 years' time that I've been using this platform. And I see Calhoun and Just in Time all growing, and they're not ranting about, being self-deprecation or hating on others. And what was up again? Like, I'll bring these old points up. Why does Upchurch, or why has Upchurch decided to secretly record people that would go into his house? What kind of fed like nonsense is that? What was the goal? What was he trying to accomplish? And then claiming that there were diss tracks that he literally manifested simply by constantly being paranoid about it very publicly with eyes the size of pins. So yeah, I don't understand Mr. Upchurch's means. I left a comment. It's probably the least derogatory, because he just, like, think 5 hours ago left a like 5 minute video where again and again he's complaining and bitching about Adam Calhoun, who I think Adam Calhoun's made his diss tracks, the ones that he made after being accused of making them, and has moved on. I don't think there's any implication that that song Insane, which hit pretty damn hard, has anything to do with Ryan, but I think Ryan has a narcissistic kind of trend to himself where he thinks anything that comes from somebody has to equal him being at the front and center of it. Why does it hurt so many people's feelings, by the way, like, for just being outspoken about this guy? I understand he made music that had a significance in your life. I feel that way with a lot of bands. Linkin Park, rest in peace, Chester. I don't know about the new gal, but I'll sure give it a listen because Shinoda's still in the picture. I still feel that way about Eminem, Tupac, and Biggie. That was always my focal point. And then when I was a DJ for 10 years, there's a whole huge amount of music and artists that I listened to over the years that I just loved. Nine Inch Nails, if I get into my more hard rock and alternative. But what is Ryan Upchurch doing with his career right now? Because all I see is a man that is using, like, he has an arsenal of production at his hands if he wanted. He has more than one editor, I think, or is he still just using that B-Loose guy? All he's doing is making himself look like a tweaker, and he's fallen off because instead of trying to unite and bring people up like I thought he was all about, he's showing himself to be the villain and the hypocrite, and he's completely turned into that. And I wish he had friends around him that would have the balls to say what he needs to hear. Like, dude, it's weird that you're just obsessing about some guy that's following his dream and succeeding, and that's all you're talking about is, and then all these little personalities he thinks was quirky and cool when he was younger, making vines, that definitely worked for him. But now, I mean, the dude's what? He's a father with a wife, and for all intents and purposes, it appears he's paying more attention to everybody else that's doing better than he is and bombing, just like Snow White is. So right now, for the rest of the year until Snow White is out of the theaters, I'm gonna refer to Mr. Ryan Upchurch as Snow White until he recognizes that he's just making a fool of himself, a complete fool of himself, And I hope he takes, the advice that he's not gonna read, which is, bro, just go do some music or something. Get back to your roots and stop worrying about the internet and image, self imagery, and people's opinions online. It's so meaningless. You have the opportunity to do something, even though you have ghosts in your closet, man. The Rodney case, the settlement out of court with Icked Mail, which doesn't mean you won. Like you lie to your audience a lot and try to shape narratives, and it's not a good look because your audience are not stupid for the most part. I mean, the crack squadians and tweak squad, the ones that will just never admit that you've done anything wrong, they're dumb. But the real ones that had your back and bought your merchandise way back when they saw potential, they're the real ones, and they've grown wise to you. So I just had to do a quick rant watching those back to back to back. First, I watched Calhoun's insane video with Just in Time, and there's other artists, respectfully. For country rap terms, which, I'm a little biased towards, I say, hell yeah, that was some good shit. And then I watched the Snow White reports about how woke, dumb Disney's doing, literally throwing their money away. They're worse than the Fed right now. All right, they're like the Biden administration that threw 350 billion at the Ukraine. Um, yeah. Disney just they invested 370 million, and they've only made 43 million dollars in the opening of 2 weeks. That's bad. And as for Upchurch, crickets and madness. So, Snow White and Ryan Upchurch, you're one and the same to me right now. So, I guess good luck, Snow White, and keep up the good work, Adam Calhoun. And I'm gonna go to work. And thanks to all of you, Twisted. Hey, Mary, cool, and bless. Yep, blessings to everybody. Take care. I'm sure there are people that are like, this guy has an opinion that I don't agree with, so he is the devil. If you're that fragile, find another platform.